Hey, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. The video is kind of a follow-up to the review I did on my Vilano 4.0 Diverse. If you've not watched that video yet, it'd be a good time. Go ahead, watch it. Jump back here because this may not make a lot of sense if you didn't see that. In that review, I gave Vilano bikes what I think is a pretty darn good review, and I believe it to be a good bicycle. I did have one problem with them, and I didn't want to taint the review with getting into that because it really has nothing to do with the bicycle itself. However, if you're considering buying a bike from these guys, some stuff here you might want to know about. I think for a lot of people this may influence their decision one way or another. There's not a heck of a lot of info out there on Vilano, so I'm trying to help the people and save them some of what I went through in buying this bike. A little bit of research I did prior to my purchase. Most of what I found on them seemed like they got very heavy into fixed gear bikes for a short time, and honestly the reviews out there on them are not stellar. They sold a very inexpensive fixed gear bike, not the cheapest out there. If my memory serves me correct, under $200 price points. You know, reality is you're not going to get probably top of the line components for that. I would think fixed gear riders tend to ride their equipment a little harder, and if there's a time and a place for good equipment, that's certainly one of them in the bicycle realm. I had bought this bike. I was a little reserved, what kind of put me over the tipping point, even with past not so great reviews. I was buying the bike basically for its components. I had planned on buying this thing and cannibalizing it for components. So everything I was after was made by Shimano. So basically I'm going with Shimano's reputation more than Vilano. So as long as the thing gets ordered, gets to me intact, all good. I get the bike, instead of just instantly tearing it apart, I've got a brand new bicycle. I was going to ride it as a complete bike for a little bit. First thing I noticed on it was the rear hub, the Alpine 8 internal, had a click to it. Sounded very much like a freewheel when you coasted or backpedaled or something. And everything I had seen online, I'd not rode one in person, seen a bike with one in person. I'm a small town. We don't have a lot of cutting edge-ish bicycle stuff here. It's pretty utilitarian, and I was just going off of what I could find on the internet. But I had never seen anything about this noise here, so I thought, well, maybe adjustments or something. So I watched their video on how to adjust it. That didn't help. I did some other belt adjustments and the cable adjustment. That's about all you can do on this bike to that rear end without opening it up. And brand new internal hub, I didn't feel like I should be having to open up. So I called Vilano. Girl answered the phone. I said, hey, is it you or anybody there that can tell me, is this normal? I never said anything was wrong with the bike. You know, I just wanted to know, was it normal to have this sound? I wasn't aware of that. I thought it was supposed to be essentially a silent drivetrain. She said, well, I've not personally rode one. Let me see if I can get a bike tech to talk to you. She put me on hold for a while. Comes back, says the tech had left for the day. She'd have him talk to me first thing in the morning, and would I please go online and fill out the online registration for the bike so they could log the call and bill it to service. Sure, no problem. Go and comply with all of that. Also in that email, she had requested I send them a short video demonstrating the problem. Here's what I sent them. 5. I don't think this is natural for these, but maybe somebody out there can tell me. When I backpedal, so this is hard to do and hold the camera. Hear the click? It only does that in gear 4 and up. It's pretty silent in 1 through 4. And again, followed it up with, we'd be happy to set up a call with you when our tech reviews it. Weekend goes by, Monday morning, June 11th. Now Colby had, instead of Megan, had picked up the email train at this point. Thanks for completing our warranty and all that, and thanks for the video. Our bike tech's out of the office today, reviewing your video and information with him tomorrow. We'll get back to you with a solution. In the meantime, we'd love to speak with the bike shop that assembled and tuned your factory direct bike. There was no bike shop involved. I replied to Cody accordingly. Thanks for the info and update. No bike shop involved. I assembled it myself. Kind of gave him a little bit of my background, and Cody replies to me 2 days later. Thanks for your reply. It does seem like you're certainly qualified to perform maintenance on the bike. We only suggest that because we get a range of people assembling bikes. I get that. I understand that. Thanks for acknowledging, and I wasn't looking for kudos or anything. It wasn't Joe Schmo with 8 pliers and a screwdriver trying to put a bike together. I kind of know what I'm doing. Our bicycle tech, according to, who are we talking to now? Oh yeah, Daniel. This is the third person in this chain. Our bicycle tech's not able to review the information yesterday as he was very busy. Deeply sorry. However, I made sure he has time to do this first thing tomorrow, and we'll have answers for you then. That was on June 13th. So tomorrow, he got back to us saying we reviewed your video with our tech. He let us know you really shouldn't be backpedaling. Okay. If you do, it's not the end of the world, but shouldn't be an everyday thing. Okay, I get it. If you hear any noises while backpedaling, as long as it doesn't feel like anything going wrong, should be okay. Interesting response, but okay. And here's the interesting part of this email. We've never had any feedback like this before. If you're concerned this has caused an internal issue, you can either visit your local bike shop or return the bike for a refund. All I was asking for was to sound normal. Obviously, right here he's saying this is not normal. I beg to differ. It's very normal, and we'll get to that in a second. Here we are right again asking for a bike shop. So I apply to them and say, look, I'm not habitually backpedaling, and it does the very same thing when coasting, and I'd really not want to return the entire bike. I've got a lot of time in getting the bike adjusted for my preferences, and can I make the assumption, since you're saying you're willing to accept a return on the entire bike, that there is some internal defect? They replied, based on what our tech saw, shouldn't be any issues. Without having a tech actually work on the bike and pulling the parts off for inspection, we're not going to be able to provide any more detail, blah, blah, blah. If you do stop by a shop, though, we'd be happy to speak with them. So now what are you going to tell the shop that you couldn't tell to me? That's what I don't get, and that felt very condescending to me. So it was at that point I was like, I guess I'm pretty much on my own with this thing. So first thing I do is a Google search, Elfing 8 noise. For a company to have not heard of this is mind-numbing to me. There's no lack of YouTube videos and Google articles and forum threads and whatnot on the Shimano noise. In fact, I wasn't hard to find. Found a transcribed letter from Shimano addressing what I was hearing in the hub. And by the way, over time, it's a very normal sound I was hearing. It's very tight tolerances and everything in a planetary like that, the way those gears are engineered in there. You want to hear a little bit of noise up front, let them find their home. There's going to be some normal wear for everything to set in and settle. And that took probably maybe 100 miles of riding, I'm going to say, and it had gotten so quiet I almost had forgot about it. And at this point, probably 300 miles on the bike, it's silent. Love it. In fact, I think over the winter time I may lace 11 into it, and we'll see what happens there. But anyway, I did a little more homework on Vilano, and I found the company that owns this place, which confirmed what I'd said in the other video. Vilano is Bikes Direct. They buy like most big bike companies do. No lack of them, not all of them. There's some USA made stuff. There's obviously Italian made and whatnot, but there's a heck of a lot of bicycle companies out there that if you have money, you can call one of these places over in China and say, hey, I want to have a bicycle brand. I want them painted with this name on them. I want this group set. I want these handlebars. I want this color of this tire, and pretty much spec out a bicycle. And you can be a bike company if you have the money to get minimum orders. It's no big trick. Vilano's done a good job with speccing out some pretty good components and selling at what I think is a very competitive price. Look for anything else out there that has belt drive, internal hub, hydraulic disc brakes, and anything halfway decent. You guys would be spending probably at least double the money, if not more. So, that's to be taken into account, but again, my problem is not with the bikes. It's just that the company kind of acting like they're not what they are. And in a world today with the researchability we have due to being online, being deceitful with a brand new customer and being condescending to them is probably not the best path for business. And I hope they get their stuff together. I was initially thinking I'd buy another one to get the parts that we wanted to cannibalize off of this one, but if I go to 11, that'll give me a new hub, and I think I'll just acquire my parts other way. I do have a new e-bike that I was very interested in, but facing what I have with them, I'm a little reluctant to pull the trigger on the e-bike. It's obviously quite a bit more money than what I have here, and a bad battery pack or something like that, if I'm stuck on my own with customer service, kind of suck. I guess that's what I'm saying with, if you're considering buying one, you gotta look at what I went through and take it with a grain of salt. There's other reviews out there, and be wary of some of the printed ones I saw. If you do your homework on them, I'm not going to say anything, but be a little wary of some of the sourcing of those reviews. Not all, but there's some questionable ones out there. If you're plenty comfortable working on what you're buying in the event something's not right, fine. Or if you're willing to go through the hassle of returning an entire bike, when I talked to them on the phone one other time, it's like they wouldn't even consider swapping out just the rear wheel or just the hub or something. They wanted the whole bike back, which, go back in that email thread again, first email, she specifically says they'd swap parts. Never said anything about sending the entire bike back until we got down to, a week after I started this thing. And I honestly didn't ride it a whole lot that week because I wasn't sure there was something wrong, and I didn't want to put a crap load of miles on it had I been tearing things up. Once I found the articles I found online about the noise, I realized it's just part of the process, and turned out fine for me. Everything's good. Like I said, the bike's awesome, and hopefully, they turn the corner on specking some better parts with their stuff. I just hope they get their customer service in a little more friendly manner until I see something different. You're not mechanically inclined or don't want to spend the money with a bike shop, finish out tuning and setting up the bike. It's something to consider, but your mileage may vary. You guys make up your own mind. Anything else with this situation, really, if you got questions, as always, drop down in the comments, get you an answer one way or another. And I just wanted to put the info out there. I'm not saying anything's good or bad. I'm just telling you what I went through. Just thanks for tuning in. Subscribe it, like it, hate it, whatever. Thanks. See ya.